before we...
That's an underwater cam. That's the underwater exposure meter, and
Yes.
this is the underwater camera that we took the films with.
What a fascinating gadget. Now, tell me about these various knobs.
Well, this is your frames per second.
Right.
This is your focus.
Oh, yes.
Sorry, that's your f-stop.
F-stop.
This is your focus.
Uh-huh.
That's your filter
Oh,
change.
that's filter change. I wonder
And
if you
this
can
is
see the filters changing on this.
And
This is the gadget that runs the
makes it
camera.
whir.
And you can look through a little peephole in the back here. And as you look through, say, that's fascinating, because all the f-stops and the speed of your lens operation, everything else are shown in there.
It's shown in there.
So you don't have to look at these gadgets.
Not a bit.
So you
never,
can
never set them before you go down.
stick this to your eye and away you go.
Away you go. She's heavy now, but underwater she only weighs about a pound and a half.
I notice
2
you've got
pounds.
a bicycle pump outfit here.
You pressurize the inside.
Yes. Well, that's the diving gear. And using this, not only can the Navy man do his job, but the biologist has a fascinating opportunity to study the creatures as they live down there, without being dragged up and mauled over, and to see the little day-by-day interactions that go on as one animal meets another animal. We ran into some rather interesting ones the other day, and I brought them along to show you. Well, this is a common or garden sea anemone. Many of you have seen him before. He's busy opening up his tentacles because he's a hungry sea anemone. He's clamped firmly onto a rock where he's probably stayed for all his life, perhaps several years, because these animals have been known to live as long as 80 years in aquaria, and they're still going, incidentally. The one that was 80 years old when last heard of. Here it is, tentacles all expended, and there's a piece of something fell down from the top, perhaps the residue of a fish's meal. Right on the tentacles, edible, and in she goes. It didn't go in quite fast enough to please me, so I tickled it a little bit. And in she goes. Here we are. But it doesn't take long before it's got that food into its stomach and opens up again. Now here we have the same anemone, but approaching him from the left there is a leather star. And just the barest touch of that leather star on this anemone produces the most extraordinary reaction. Look at it. Anemones shouldn't behave this way. Spread out its tentacles and its disc, twitching as if it had been electrified. Now, there's only one kind of starfish will do this, or at the best 2 kinds of starfish that will do this to this anemone. And it won't happen to any other anemone of the many kinds we've got here. That tentacle is that ray of the starfish is moving down again and going to touch the disc. Now watch what happens. This fascinated me. Look at that. The disc is coming loose from that rock where it's been these many years. And the muscle in the center is projecting. The animal is actually going to swim away. That's what I call developing a strong dislike to your neighbors. Because the starfish wasn't going to eat the anemone. They don't eat anemones. Now, in a strong current of water, which there very frequently is on the seafloor, this beast, by coming loose, will simply be washed out of reach of the starfish. And here he is. Escape. He'll move away, and after a short burst of this, he goes absolutely rigid and stays rigid for some minutes. Now, here's another of the most interesting contacts that I've ever seen between animals. Here's a nice little nest of limpets, firmly clamped on a rock. Along comes one of the purple starfish that you see so frequently. And as soon as he gets anywhere near them, you watch what happens to these limpets. Boy, let me out of here. If you think BO is confined to the land livers, why, just take a look at this. And only one kind of starfish will do this, the purple starfish or the short-spined starfish of the Pacific coast, and only 2 or 3 of the 5 or 6 kinds of limpets will react this way. Boy, oh boy, any port in a storm. Don't get in my way. Look at him move. Look at those tentacles waggle. Did you ever see limpets move faster? Now, these are the little byplays that one sees by going to where the creatures are. Look at that fellow take off. I think somebody stuck a pin in him. I have a sneaky suspicion that the starfish does eat limpets. And this is the sort of reaction you'll get by putting a wolf into a flock of sheep. And that's the sort of thing, as I say, that you can see by using these new techniques of going to the sea bottom where the creatures are. Well, thanks very much indeed, Lieutenant Lowther, for coming down tonight and showing us your gear and your people.
Thank you, sir.
And thanks very much for being with us, and I hope you'll join us again next week when we're going to talk about undersea living and the problems therewith. Good night.
Next week, undersea living, the problems of depth and sound, sight and pressure, and the search for food in The Living Sea.